How are you?
Definitely. Thanks for having me. Doing well. Can't complain.
That's good to hear. It's good to hear positive vibes.
Sir.
Yeah, yeah. I see you look like you're on holiday at the moment. Did you say you're in Spain?
I'm in Spain. Yup.
Nice, nice. What's the view like? Bet you got a good view going on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Pretty.
What brings you to Spain then? Is it work or, just a
Uh,
break?
no, just when I'm get a chance and I'm off, I like to explore, see other places. That's how you open up your mind, get to see God's creation and
Mm,
different things than what you take in every day. That's how you grow. So
yeah.
I do as much as possible.
There's definitely some beautiful spots to visit,
Oh yeah.
around the world. And you coming to the UK anytime soon? Are you going to be visiting any more places?
Um, I might be I might be out there, yeah, maybe in like April.
Yeah. Oh, sweet.
Not too
Nice.
long, but yeah, maybe like April. I was actually just in France uh a couple of months ago, and I was supposed to hit London,
Mm,
but plans got switched around last
yeah.
minute.
Maybe it'll come soon. It'd be pretty cool to see you
Oh
down
yeah.
there. Yeah.
When I come, I'm gonna hit you up.
Yeah, no, definitely. So you obviously have been acting for quite a long time, moving into the subject of your career and, getting to know you. What made you decide to start at such a young age? Because, I mean, it came to you quite early, didn't it?
Yeah, man. My first job, I was 3 weeks old, and acting was never something that I chose. It was my dad was a photographer, and he got me into print work when I was 3 weeks old. He was shooting an American Express campaign, and they needed a handheld baby last minute because the one that they had got sick.
Okay.
So partner on the shoot was like, don't you have a son? We can't recast. Let's just use your son." And my dad is like, "The lady in the ad is white. My son is black." And his partner was like, "Yeah, but isn't he still like light skinned? Don't all babies are born pale and light skinned. Let's just use them."
Mhm.
And that was my first gig. From there, I got signed to Ford Modeling Agency, and then uh, at 3 years old, I booked my first movie, which was Losing Isaiah. So acting was never something that I really chose, but it was something that I embraced at a certain age.
Mm. Did you say you got hooked on acting, though, being a part of Losing Isaiah and, working alongside, it was how do you pronounce her name? I'm
Halle
trying
Berry.
to, that's it, yeah, yeah. It's quite a complicated one, that, isn't it? Um, yeah, would you say you was hooked on acting after that first role?
No, not really, because I mean, you know how when you get older, you don't really remember much of what you were thinking or how you felt in your younger years. So after I did Losing Isaiah, I was still, man, I was 5 when that movie came out,
Mm,
and my parents did a good job at making sure I still felt and lived like a normal kid. So it wasn't until I became like a teenager that I started realizing that I was an actor and what acting was. And I would say that that's when I started to get hooked
yeah, yeah,
in the teen years, 14,
yeah.
15.
Okay, was it quite challenging to sort of, get into the industry, like, growing up in the Bronx? Is that correct?
I grew up in
Yeah,
Bronx, born and raised,
yeah,
represent.
yeah.
Uh Surprisingly, it wasn't. And that's why I say that it's a blessing,
Mm,
because one, to be from anywhere, unless you have a parent who's ultra famous, it's rare to become an actor, and not just become an actor, but become an actor who's been in projects for so long. So um it was easy for me, but it was all thanks to Jehovah's will and what was in store for me.
mm. Where did you study, if you don't mind me asking, or did you not need to do that considering, you got quite a big role? I'm sure you
I,
just
I
didn't get to
never
study.
I never
Yeah.
took formal acting training,
Oh, wow. Wow.
not a day in my life. But I
Yeah.
started school like 12 years ago. I started acting school, but
Mm,
I never took formal acting training. And there's some reasons for that. It's a pretty big name individual that when I was like 7, I was on his show, and my dad asked him, what school can I get him into? I want to keep it going, make sure he's equipped. And the guy was like, "Why? why are you going to put him in an acting class? An adult is not going to be able to teach him how to be a kid. He
Mm,
already understands the concept of how to act. That's all he needs. Just allow him to be on set, keep nurturing it. And then when I got older, around the time I was graduating high school, going to college, I applied to a couple of performing arts schools, was accepted to a few. I was about to start at a very prestigious one, and I was shooting what movie was that? Was it Notorious? I was either shooting Notorious or Big Mama's House 3.
mm,
And it was a coach, an acting coach on set. And it was like, yeah, Marc John, I don't need to work with you. You know, you got it. But the directors don't want me to go over anything with you. And then one day on set, we just get into this conversation. We're talking, and he just started talking about how like sometimes actors don't understand the value of being on set and that experience from being on set and learning.
mm,
And it was recommended that I don't pursue one of the bigger schools because I had already done and accomplished what actors in those schools were looking for. So to just keep feeding off of where I already was and looking to grow on my own and seeing where that journey took me. And
yeah. And
that's
it
what
got
I
you here.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's pretty incredible. It's amazing how quick, a career can grow for someone
Yup.
so young as well.
Yup.
Yeah. Um, so I'll take it you didn't have many auditions then, you just sort of got the jobs provided for you.
No, I was an
Okay.
audition, man. I literally had to audition for every mainstream big project that anyone has ever seen me in. I've auditioned for it.
Mm,
From Losing Isaiah to Get Rich or Die Trying, Notorious, Power, Blue Bloods, City on the Hill, The Haunted Mansion, Story Little 2, Finding Nemo. And I think like that's actually it's a common misconception because the it's like in the industry, things work a certain way, you know,
mm,
like Robert Downey Jr. had to audition for Iron Man. You
mm.
wouldn't think that somebody of his caliber has to, but he
Yeah,
did.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
You would think
Chadwick
it just
Boseman,
gets given to them, wouldn't you, as a job?
you would think it's good.
Yeah.
But different directors, sometimes it's just that the director knows what they want and they feel like this person could do it, but they're not going to take the risk of casting this person and they don't bring the character to life in the way that they saw because then the whole movie is shot. So
Mm,
you'll find that the director is like, I really love your work, no disrespect. We want you to read, screen test for it, just so they can see how the person fits in the character.
mm,
Other times it's the studio. The director wants this person, and the studio is like, well, we like these people, so let's do screen tests and we'll throw your guy in with these other four guys and we'll see how it comes out, and then we'll pick from there.
yeah.
But yeah, auditioning is still a big thing for a lot of people at different levels. Like Aaron Pierre just had to audition for uh to play Hal Jordan in the DC's new Green Lantern show.
Mm,
Oh, and he's dope. He's a very popular rising name right now.
mm.
So you'd
Yeah,
be
see
surprised.
that's what I thought about your acting. Like you like it comes so natural to you seeing you on TV. I feel like I know there's a lot of preparation, but you can see it in different actors, and that's why I just felt like it seemed like you didn't really have to audition much. When I asked that,
Uh,
so it was like, yeah,
I love auditioning though,
mm,
because it's like as a creative, my job is to take the script and breathe a different type of life into it
mm,
to give the director my interpretation, but also to understand when I read the script to understand what the idea of that's trying to be accomplished in the way the story is being told, and then present my version of how my character that I'm auditioning for fits into that vision, right? So if if I'm not bringing the vision you want, the last thing I want is to be hired for the role,
mm,
because we're creatives, and if you're working on a masterpiece, we want everything to be symmetrical. And
mm,
sometimes, I heard of projects where they cast somebody just off the basis of another character that they've done, and the project doesn't necessarily come out according to like how the producers and how the directors saw it.
mm,
So for me, it's a little bit more stressful and nerve-wracking when you're on set. You never presented this character to these people, so they don't know what you're going to bring. It's all speculatory.
Mm,
And then as an actor, you have to try to perform in a way where they're approving of what they're seeing. I
mm,
hate being in that place. No, this is what I
mm.
bring. Do you like it? Okay, cool. You hired me. Now I'm going to bring this character to life full circle and I'm going to explore and we're
Yeah,
going to find things about this guy together.
yeah. No, 100%, it makes sense. Talking of like, abilities and showing yourself as an actor, is there a particular project or role that you feel really, showcased your abilities as an actor? Um,
Um,
or is it just, all of it in general that does?
Not really. I mean, I feel like I'm a basketball guy.
Mm,
And one of the things that I hate when you watch like the NBA and stuff like that is when somebody comes along, they have a good season, and then after one good year, they start comparing them to greats,
mm,
right? Um, he averaged 25 points a game. This is Steph Curry all over again. He's gonna like, bro, it's one season, relax. Let
yeah,
him get
yeah,
3, 4 seasons under his belt doing that before you start comparing him to the people that's been doing it for years at the level that they have been.
mm,
For me, I don't feel like one role can necessarily showcase your talent. I feel like it can shed light on the certain abilities you have. But in order to really see talent, I think that's a track record of being able to bring believability time and time and time and time again. Um, and with that being said, I've done some characters that I really love, some projects that I'm really proud to be a part of and be able to contribute towards. But
mm,
I don't think I've ever gotten I don't think I've gotten that role yet
yeah. Okay,
to show
it's
like the
interesting.
higher ends of a different aspect of my talent. I don't think that's come
Mm,
along yet.
okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would guess everyone views it differently as they see someone, and then as you see yourself as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's quite interesting.
It's like you
Um,
know what you're capable of, and
yeah,
these projects, yeah, you've been able to bring truth to them.
mm,
But my idea of like the type of project that I would love to sink my teeth into, I haven't really gotten that yet. No,
mm.
no.
So yeah, I know you just said that, and you feel like you haven't gotten that job yet. But what are you most proud of so far? Would you say in your career, like
Ooh.
job
Um,
wise?
that's a tough one.
Mm. There's a lot of big names and titles, so it's quite hard to choose.
Yeah, yeah, that's a tough one. I'm proud of a lot of my work, to be honest.
Yeah,
I don't really have regrets over anything that I've done. Um, yeah, that's tough. Yeah, that's a good
mm.
question.
Yeah, yeah. That, we
That's
might have to
gotta
come back
ask.
to it. Yeah, we can come back to it.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, your career, like we're still talking about the growth side of it. I mean, how did you feel when you started acting, alongside people like Notori Norton and 50 Cent? Did you feel that was quite a big break for you at the time? Were you a fan of Notorious B.I.G. at the time as well when you were doing that job?
Um, so honestly, one, it was dope working with Notori, 50, Amari, um, all of them, man. I I didn't know who Biggie Smalls was.
Okay, okay,
Audition for the role. I grew up on country music. I
okay,
was raised on
okay,
like country music, pop, things like that. I was listening to like Avril Lavigne and Backstreet Boys and
okay.
Kenny
Modest,
Rogers.
modest music, more modest stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Mavericks, Kenny G. Like I
yeah.
grew up on that kind of music. So when I first did Get Rich or Die Trying, when I found out I booked it, I turned to my friend and I was like, I'm playing some a guy who's in a group called 50 Cent. He was like, in a group? Bro, what are you talking about? You know who 50 Cent is? I'm like, yeah,
Mm,
isn't that like some band or something? He like, no, dude, that's the rapper. I'm
mm,
like, who? Who's the what rapper? And then he put on the song Winkster for me. And
yeah.
I was like, "Oh, I'm playing him." He was like, "Yeah, you
Yeah.
crazy?" Um, and then for Notorious, like I literally had to go research Notorious B.I.G. Uh, I had to choose a song to perform. So for the first audition, I went in there not knowing nothing,
Mm.
and you had to, aside from the script, you had to come in with a rap song prepared and dance to the rap song.
Mm.
So I forgot what song I did. I think I did Lil Bow Wow song. Lil Bow Wow, you just don't know the way he moves so fast. That song.
Okay.
And they asked Notorious, they asked Biggie or Pac at the audition. I said Pac, not knowing who either one of them were. And then when I got the call back, they were like, "Yeah, his rhythm, he danced crazy. Like we need him to come back and try a little bit more on the music side." So when I
Mm.
went back in, I did my research. I looked up Biggie. I knew who he was now. I listened to some of his music. I went in there with I forgot what Junior Mafia song I went. I think it was Get Money that I
Yeah.
prepared, and I did a little bit better that time around. But
Yeah.
stepping into a lot of these situations, I was unaware of like the the meaning of it. You
Mm.
know, I didn't realize how big of an icon in hip hop Biggie was before I actually was in the movie. You know, once
Mm.
I was on set and I started learning more about his life, hearing stories about him, realizing that this dude was like a massive influence on culture, I was
Mm.
like, oh snap, wow, you know.
Yeah.
The same for 50. What was dope about for 50 when we did Give It to Die Trying, 50 was he was a star, but he wasn't the 50 that he became, you know.
Mm.
So like doing a movie with 50, being around him, getting to know him, and then watching his growth still continue after that. It was inspiring, man.
Mm.
But I would say the only moment I've ever had where I was temporarily not starstruck but nervous was my first day working on Haunted Mansion with Eddie Murphy.
Okay. Okay.
That was yeah, I remember that to this day.
Mm.
Uh it was my literally my first day on set, my first scene. I had not met Eddie yet. And I get to set and I hear him in the other room shooting another scene.
Mm.
And he comes out of the room because that's part of the scene. He has to come out the room and go back in. And I see him from a distance and I'm like, oh, snap. And then the last time he comes out, I'm like, wait, that's not Eddie.
Mm.
It was his double. It was his
Okay.
stand-in.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah.
And then 2 seconds later, here comes Eddie walking past me, and the director Rob Minkoff was telling Eddie like what was going to happen, showing him the scene. So I'm just standing there. And oh snap! Right. So then Rob was like, "Mark, did you meet Mr. Murphy yet?" And
Yeah.
I was like, "No." And then Eddie was like, "Hey, what's going on? Good to meet you. You good?" I was like, "Yeah." He said, "All right, action."
Yeah.
First scene, first performance, first moments of I literally just met this dude, and it was like I had to take a deep breath and say, "Okay, let me focus."
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
ran into the scene. What? That was literally the first scene we shot.
Yeah. Do you
And
think he noticed any of that? Like any of the, you know, nerves coming from you?
nah, I don't think he noticed because
Mm.
I wore it. I covered it pretty well.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
so just like that internal dialogue of like, dang, this is Eddie
Mm.
Murphy. And my parents watch this guy, like they know who he is.
Mm.
I've seen some of his work.
Mm.
Wow. Like I think that was the first moment that I worked with somebody of his caliber and I was of age to like understand who this was in front of me.
Mm.
Um, yeah. And after that day, it was easy peasy. You know,
Yeah.
he took me under his wing. He became a mentor to me. I did stand up back in the day. He used to come to my shows and critique my shows. I stayed with him and his family all the time at their house. His son Miles became my best friend. We were like this for years. And after that day, I kind of never really. acknowledged again that yeah, this is Eddie Murphy,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that same light because I
Takes a
got to
while to
know
sink
him.
in, and yeah,
And Eddie's mad chill. He's down to
yeah,
earth.
yeah.
And he doesn't walk around with any air. He's a real cool, humble
Mm,
dude who's in it for the work, loves his family,
mm.
and yeah, he was dope to work with.
So it was completely different to a lot of your other jobs. Then it was more of a complete different energy filming for that.
Yeah, in a sense,
Yeah.
it was until I did Get Rich because 50 was the same way. 50 is so chill and down to earth,
Okay.
not he doesn't have a ego to him
Mm,
that makes you uncomfortable.
mm.
Like he's a very accepting person and very like generous.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. This.
and then
Yeah.
that was my second time. But with 50, it was different because with 50 again, I didn't grow up on rap. So while I heard how 50 was huge from like other people,
Mm.
he was big to me, but only by what other people were saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then I
Yeah.
met him and I'm like, yo, this dude is cool. Like he got me a PSP before it came out. Remember the Sony
Oh,
PSPs?
that's cool. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
before
That's
it
how
came
far
out.
back it was.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got me the PSP. He before we even started shooting, he gave me a Get Rich or Die Trying. I still have it, an iPad Nano. It
Yeah.
was a Get Rich or Die Trying iPad Nano from his first album. The the face of it was this album cover, and the play button was a bullet, was the broken glass with the bullet going
Oh,
through.
cool.
And
Yeah.
I was in the studio with him. He had like a recorder, a portable studio that was in a big tractor trailer on set. I was in the
Mm.
studio with him. I got to hear him write, man, half of the album for the movie.
Mm.
So and then so as I'm with him, I'm like, yo, and then I'm learning how big he is, and I was like, oh snap, that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
You would never know. He's
Yeah.
just
Two completely different, people, as well. Did you get to work with any of? Well, I suppose you did. You probably did get to work with Biggie's family and friends to understand the
oh
story as
yeah.
well, didn't you? Yeah.
Yeah, Miss Wallace was a Biggie's mom. She was a executive producer on the project, so she was on set a lot.
Mm.
Uh, Mark Pitts and Wayne Barrow, who were big parts of Biggie's life, they were his producers and his friends. They were on set. They were producers of the movie. Little C's and the whole Junior Mafia gang, they were like our consultants. So they were on set every day saying
Oh
like,
wow.
no, 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 that's this happened. Or hey, this happened this way. Or wait, we should do this. C's pulling me to the side. You
Mm.
know, when this was happening, I was actually in this frame of mind. So that might be cool for you to consider, So a lot of his a lot of his family was on set. His son, CJ, um, his daughter, Tiana, they came to set a couple of times.
Wow.
Yeah, Puffy
But
showed up
yeah.
a few times. So a lot of people that were in his life were part of the project and had a lot to do with it.
So the movie was quite accurate then. To
Oh,
the yeah. Because some movies can be misleading as well to people's world.
so
Yeah.
the movie was accurate based on the perspective of certain people,
Yeah.
because the funny thing about life is like a game of telephone.
Mm.
Five of us could witness the same thing and have a slightly different recollection or slightly different understanding of it. But it's because when we see something, a lot of times people don't people don't what do you call it? They don't relay what they saw. They relay what they think about what they saw.
Mm.
So there were a few people that felt that the movie didn't accurately portray them.
Yeah.
As far as the guys who were part of Biggie's life on a very consistent basis, I think they felt like the movie was very accurate.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, it was going back now with the whole film itself. But do you feel Cease's relationship with Biggie could have been explored a bit more? Do you think there could have been more? Yeah. Do you think the story of the friendship could have been explored a bit more in the film?
Yeah, I mean, I know one thing that C's always said and that everybody attested to was how close he and Biggie were.
Mm.
Like Cease did everything for Biggie. Cease was like, if Biggie's shoe was untied, I was tying his shoe for him.
Mm.
Like, I would stop in the meeting and tie his shoe for him. He was
Yeah.
like, I literally did everything with him. Um, but when you're telling a story about somebody's life as impactful as Biggie and as accomplished as Biggie, you kind of have to pick and choose which parts of the narratives you want to focus on. Because
Mm.
at the end of the day, the movie was about Biggie's life, not
Mm.
Biggie's relationship with Cease. You
Mm.
know, so I don't feel that Cease felt slighted by how it was portrayed. I think he loved the movie. And another thing is just that thing for Cease about the kind of person he is. He knows what happened and how his relationship was with Big was, and he doesn't need other people
Yeah.
outside of
To portray it, yeah,
him
and
and his
tell it
circle
how it
to
is.
understand how close I was. Like
Yeah.
Biggie was a brother to him, and that's never going to change. You know,
Mm.
so I think that that's the hard thing about um projects about a person's life. It's like there's so many different angles you can take it and go, and it's like what angle helps the story the most is the one that we need to take as the creative. And I think George Tillman, the director, and Wayne and those guys, they did a good job at telling a
Mm.
well-rounded story portion of Big's life and impact.
Yeah. Yeah. No, of course. But how do you feel about the whole Diddy thing now that, we found out so much stuff about him being involved with Biggie? Because he was the producer of the film as well, weren't he? I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was a executive producer on it, I think.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I honestly don't know, man. I don't know. It's a lot being said. It's definitely a lot of things coming out. Um, but you know, it's hard to trust media sometimes, especially like social media, because people take different pieces of different things and they spread it as truths and things to that nature. Um, I'm not saying he's innocent, but I also don't know if he's guilty. I don't really know what he's done. On set, he was a cool dude. I did a movie with his son Quincy, and Quincy was dope, pretty thorough. Um, but it's not for me to say.
Mm.
What comes out will come out, but unfortunately, we live in a system that is really controlled by Satan, and one of
Mm.
the tools that he uses a lot of times is media. So I have no idea. I really don't. I have no idea. Um, yeah, it's one of those things where I'm not even in that circle enough to make a informed decision, and
Yeah.
don't want to bear false witness, in any kind of way. So, um, I don't know. We're gonna see how it plays
Mm.
out.
Yeah. Because I kind of feel like, as you as an actor, I feel like it's going to be quite hard to sort of talk about it because I know you was portraying Lil Cease, but you're still sort of in between 50 Cent and Diddy as well, weren't you? Like between their beef, so it must be quite awkward to answer for the both of them when them questions get asked. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
no, it's not really awkward because I don't have a problem speaking on what I know is truth. Um, but it's like when I don't know, I don't speculate,
mm,
and I don't know. I wasn't a part of Puff's world enough or to make any kind of to say anything about what was going on or what could be true or what's not true. I hope it's not true because, as I said, I met him. He was a cool dude. Quincy is really dope dude. So I,
mm,
I can't really speak on anything that I didn't personally witness.
yeah,
Um, yeah. And then 50, one thing about 50, 50 doesn't mind speaking the truth as long as it's the truth.
yeah,
So like if if I was to say something about Puff and like, nah, that's not true. If 50 knew that it wasn't true, he wouldn't care.
mm,
He's not that kind of dude. But so I wouldn't even feel awkward in that sense. But I have no idea.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I have no idea. And it's stuff that's coming out from years ago,
yeah.
however long ago, and then things that are coming out more recently. But I don't know.
It's all just a distraction for all we know. It could be just
It
anything,
could
couldn't
be.
it? We don't know what it is, what they're trying to sort of, keep us away from in the news or.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll give it.
Um, yeah, I mean, so who's been your most influential person in your career so far,
Um,
person-wise?
let me see. Most influential person in my career. That's a good one. Um,
And hopefully we're doing all right with time as well, if you're good with
oh
time.
no, I'm good
Yeah,
on time.
yeah.
I would say I've had three that have really, maybe four that have
Mm,
really like left a positive mark on my career, the way I view it, my understanding of the industry.
mm,
Um, Eddie Murphy for sure. Uh, he was the first person that on set he just talked to me about being a professional
mm,
and understanding that I'm hired to do a job, you know? And while it's all right to be a kid and have fun, I got to understand that I have a duty to fulfill pretty much.
mm.
And he taught me some other valuable lessons I'm not going to go into because they'll be long-winded, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
those like help shape my viewpoint from that point forward. Um, 50, 50 had a very positive impact on me just because like 50 was one of those people that is so much more to him than meets the eye.
Mm,
And it's like he doesn't try to meet anybody's expectation of him,
yeah.
you know, and that was a dope thing to see and to witness. Um, Tracy Morgan, I did the Tracy Morgan show, and Tracy felt like family. He knew my father, my dad and Tracy knew each other growing up, or it was
Mm,
like my dad and Tracy's brother or best friend were very close or something like that. But they knew each other from growing up, and Tracy just felt like family. Being around him on set was it was dope. It was one of those things where he literally felt like my uncle, you
mm,
know. And that always had an impact on me because that was kind of the first project I worked on where the person playing the lead of the show, it felt like we had ties beyond work.
yeah,
Um, and Amari Hardwick.
yeah.
Um, Amari Hardwick was the first person in the industry when I had become older that I would say I had a sense of brotherhood with.
Mm,
Um, he was like an older, a big brother figure to me, to where it was we shared a passion for just for art, for
mm,
the art of performing. And I don't know, it's just this like energy that we both shared. And when I say energy, I mean in the sense of we were both aligned mentally in the same outlook of how we saw the arts, and
mm,
we fed off of each other with that, and we gotta work on this. I think this is where what needs to happen next in your career. This is what
yeah,
I'm looking to do, and just that camaraderie. Um, and those four people had some of the biggest impacts. And I will say this person maybe did not have a huge impact on my career, but they're such a gem. I just have to mention them. Halle Berry.
yeah.
Um, after Luna Isaiah, I had not seen Halle, spoken to Halle in the longest.
Mm,
And then one day I think I went to brunch with Mr. Murphy, and we bumped into Halle at brunch. I was maybe like 18 at we were in Beverly Hills, I think somewhere in Beverly Hills, and we went to brunch and we bumped into Halle. She's like, "Oh my goodness, my son!" Right, and just had like this huge, warm, open reception. And the reason why I say that is because sometimes you work on projects and like you'll bump into one of your old castmates, 3 years later, and they've gone on to do a lot more work. And the love that they showed for you at one point, it doesn't exist anymore. It's
mm,
drier, it's flatter, it's the success changes the way that they are in a sense.
mm, mm.
So after all of these years, for Halle to just still be so open and loving and kind, it was dope. And I think it to me it spoke on her character, you know,
Yeah.
to a huge degree.
Wow. I've got literally a couple more questions because I feel like the internet might fail soon. um, can you tell me a little bit about the MJJ Academy and, um, what made you want to do this and who have you got coming through the door to work with for that?
Yeah, so now we go by Modern School of Dramatic Arts. Um, I opened the school maybe about 14 years ago. And the thing that made me want to do it is because when I didn't go to school to college for drama, I I just I felt like there was things I wanted to explore. It was like, so I'm not going to school. That was always something I thought I was going to do. So I applied for early childhood education because my mom is a teacher, has been a teacher for 38 years now, something like that.
Mm,
And I applied for that, and then my schedule just never really allowed me to start. And my parents were like, "Look, you like to teach, you want to explore teaching, and you like acting. How about how about teaching acting?" So I was like, "Oh snap, that's a great idea." And there was a very popular school in New York that my
yeah.
agent at the time sent the email over to, spoke to them, let them know that I wanted to teach acting. And when I was looking up the school, I saw the prices that they charged. And
Mm,
I was like, who can afford this? Who's
mm,
going to this school? These prices are crazy. And I was like, nah, because, being from the Bronx, there's so many talented people walking around, but they don't have the money to pay for this. And this will never be a reality for them. So my my parents are like, well, why don't you just try opening your own school, like starting your own thing?
mm,
And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do that.
mm,
And I spread the word amongst people I knew. And my first month of classes, we met in a pizza shop
yeah.
downstairs from my agency. And yeah, 14 years later, man, still here doing it bigger than before. Finally went digital, so now we're online. Um, I've taught Da Vinci from BMF. He started with me, and after training with me for maybe about a year, he went on to do like Grownish and The Boys, and
Mm,
then eventually BMF. Janelle Young from Wu Tang that plays Giza. He came
yeah.
through my door. I taught him. He started with me, and then after about three months of training, he booked Wu Tang. Brittany Marable from The Purge. She played the Candy Girl in The Purge. I've had about
Wow.
6, 7 people on Law and Order. Michael Ferguson that played Two Bit and Scrappy from
Oh,
Power.
okay. Yeah, yeah, I remember him. Yeah,
My
yeah, he's cool.
students. The way he got that job, I got all of my students on set as extras.
Mm,
And when he got to set, they liked his look. He met 50. I was like, yeah, tell him you know me. And somehow all of a sudden I'm hearing that Mike is now a character on Power.
mm.
Um London Sky, she's on The Waitress, the musical. Um Man, I've had a couple of people play prominent roles on like Orange is the New Black, Blue Bloods. I got a guy on Peacock, 2 people on Power Book 2 Ghosts, two that just got done with Raising Canaan. Um,
A long
yeah,
list.
list goes
Yeah.
on.
Wow.
She, um,
Mm,
Harlem. Yeah, this I've been blessed to have some cool people who come through the doors that were talented, willing to learn, and
mm.
then I was able to impart what I knew with them, and they were able to go on and start their career.
Wow. Amazing. So many
Uh,
opportunities. It's just it's cool. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been amazing talking and stay in
Definitely, brother.
touch.
Thanks for having me on, man.
Awesome.